Could we have the start of a budding rivalry between Pitt and Mississippi State? No, but the two programs did see one poach a staffer from the other. A source told Football Scoop that Mississippi State Assistant Director of Football Operations Reed Case has taken the Director of Recruiting position at Pitt. Both positions are off-the-field roles, but as anybody who has worked in a football office will tell you, each is crucial to the day-to-day success of a program. For the folks over at Football Scoop, this is one of the first big jobs that Case has had at an ACC program in the Northeast, but HES got a diverse background from stops at Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas and East Carolina among others. The move by Pat Nard at C fills the vacancy left behind by longtime staffer Mark Diathorne, who previously served as the Panthers' Director of Recruiting for 6 years before heading to a new job at his alma mater of Virginia Tech last week. It's been well over a year since the NCAA reached a settlement in a class action lawsuit over grant in aid, cost of attendance, and yet the $208 million the organization is still just sitting in a bank account waiting to be doled out. While you might first think that this is the result of their usual dragging of their feet from those in Indianapolis, it turns out that is not the case at all. USA Today is reporting that it's actually former Western Michigan wide receiver Darren Duncan who is the one holding things up. He withdrew from the class action case, but his attorney, Caroline Tucker, attempted to obtain $200,000 from the plaintiff's lawyers in exchange for dropping the objection. The lawyers on the plaintiff's side have naturally responded in force, asking either of the two to post a 5-figure bond to cover their own legal fees resulting from this delay. The judge in the case, Claudia Wilkin, knocked that down to $5,000 last Friday by calling Duncan's objection to the case meritless, and thus his appeal is unlikely to succeed. At this point, Tucker can either put up the money and risk losing it to continue their objection, or drop things and let the payments, which could go as high as $6,000 per athlete, begin. While this is naturally focused on money, there's a bit more to what the former Broncos receiver is going through. All of this is occurring against the backdrop of Duncan dealing with personal hardship. Now 28, he has been diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, according to his mother and a GoFundMe page established on his behalf about a year ago. He has received death threats because of his objection to the settlement, his mother, Arlene Pollard, said in an interview with USA Today Sports. It does appear as though a solution to this long-running saga is in the cards somewhat soon, but until then, the wait continues before the checks can start hitting the mail. Our curtain. The lifeblood of every college football program, recruiting can sometimes give us some awkward moments, and it appears we have another courtesy of Virginia. Let us first bring up this tweet from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Imhotep class of 2019 wide receiver Anthony Gordon, who seemingly committed to the Cavaliers last Thursday. Great for the kid, right? Well, there's just one problem. 247 Sports says that Gordon is not actually a commitment for the program for a rather big reason. There was an issue though. The 6'1", 175-pound wide receiver never had the scholarship offer from UVA, he reported in March. According to multiple sources, Virginia had not been in contact since March and no call was made to the Virginia staff before the post on social media. So, yeah, this immediately brings Kevin Hart not that one to mind after the former offensive lineman staged a ceremony to commit to Cal even though the Golden Bears never recruited him nearly a decade ago. It does seem like there is at least some contact between Virginia and Gordon in this case though, as that report makes clear. It has been a while since the two have talked. All is not lost for Cavs fans though, as the program did add a commitment from Emil Bo Anderson at their summer camp. Why would we mention this? Well, Anderson is not only a 6'5", 280-pound defensive tackle that comes at a position of need, but HES actually Danish and is apparently ticketed to a ride across the pond thanks to what he showcased at the UVA camp. Very cool, and not the first ACC player to come from overseas either, should his pledge hold up. It's never dull in the Cruton world. There's been a lot of cool moments across college football this past spring, but one of the best came in one of the most unlikely of places, Syracuse. At the Oranges' spring game in mid-April, backup quarterback Rex Culpepper suited up in between chemotherapy treatments and managed to throw a tear-jerking 2-count pass in the final drive of the afternoon. Fast forward a few months and Culpepper, after undergoing over 100 hours of treatment, was declared cancer-free in early June. Fully healthy and finally cleared to return to regular football activities, the Signal caller recently went through an off-season workout with his teammates and later spoke to the media about everything that has happened throughout the process. And how did he describe beating cancer? Well, naturally he brought in a very special on-the-field victory from last. The closest thing I can say is it felt like beating Clemson, Culpepper said, according to Syracuse.com. You just feel so incredibly ecstatic that nothing in your life could ever go wrong. We're pretty confident that even Tigers fans won't mind hearing that, given what the quarterback has been through and what a joyful moment that it was for the program back in October. Next up for Culpepper and the team, fall camp later this year as he competes with senior Eric Dungey in one of the more impressive quarterback rooms in the ACC for a variety of reasons. Well, this is certainly interesting. Les Miles appeared on a Houston radio station Friday to talk about the Tigers, and he apparently had some pointed thoughts on the new LSU head coach. Host Josh Innes asked Miles about LSU's over-under for the 2018 set at 7 wins, which led Miles into a monologue about Ed Orgeron asking for fans' patience. I never accepted the feeling of, hey, you need to have patience. When you say you need to have patience, aren't you just really saying to your team you're not good enough, Miles said, via The Advocate. Because I want you to know something, I never took the field with the Tigers where I didn't think I wasn't going to absolutely kick somebody's tail, period. I never asked, hey, give me a break here. For the record, Orgeron asked for fans' patience in the spring game. LSU is working in a new offensive coordinator in Steve Ensminger and running an open competition between 3 quarterbacks. Miles then said this, unprompted, certain people need to have a safety net. If you need a safety net, you need not coach for the Tigers because the Tigers are your safety net. They are the winningest, toughest, most committed group of men that I have been around. Miles and Orgeron have a complicated history. Miles hired Orgeron as his defensive line coach ahead of the 2016, a supposed game-changer hire after Miles was nearly axed in 2015. That didn't work, though, and it was Orgeron who was named LSU's interim after Miles was fired 4 games into the 2016 after LSU nearly hired Jimbo Fisher the prior fall, before Miles snuffed out the palace coup LSU AD Joe Oliva and success he orchestrated, and Orgeron was named LSU's time head coach in late November of 2016. Orgeron went 6-2 as LSU's interim and 9-4 in his first as head coach. Miles was 9-3 in his final at LSU.